So what are those areas where we have to concentrate in order to see that the village economy improves? We can find a growth in the rural economy only when you just inject capital into the rural economy. So these self-help groups, they are actively participating in the microcredit system. Today, fish production accounts for 0.9% of the total GDP. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. I welcome you all to this session. In this session, we will be discussing the chapter 5, that is Rural Development. Now, let us see what the session holds for us. Here in this session, we will have the introduction, then credit and marketing in rural areas, then rural banking, agricultural market system, diversification into productive activities, animal husbandry, fisheries, and lastly the conclusion. Now, let us see about the introduction. So, the topic is about rural development. Now, let us have a quick look at what is rural development here. So, rural development is a comprehensive term. It essentially focuses on action for the development of areas that are lagging behind in the overall development of the village economy. So, by rural development, we mean the areas of development in the village economy. All those areas which are lacking in the village economy. Some of the areas which are challenging and need fresh initiatives for development in rural areas include development of human resources. We have to just develop those areas in the village economy which are lagging behind. Now, we have to concentrate. So, what are those areas where we have to concentrate in order to see that the village economy improves? So, in this, the first one is the development of the human resources. So, how do we develop the human resources? By literacy and more specifically female literacy. So, we have to improve the literacy level of the female in the rural areas, education and skill development, health, addressing both sanitation and public health. So, when we are thinking about rural development, we have to think about the development in terms of the human resource. So, in terms of human resource, it refers to the improve in the literacy levels of the females, especially in the village areas, education, skill development and health. Then, land reforms. The second area where we have to concentrate is the land reforms. Third one is the development of the productive resources of each locality. So, here what are the various productive resources of each locality and how do we develop them? That becomes the next criteria. Then the infrastructure development like electricity, irrigation, credit, marketing, transport facility including construction of village roads and feeder roads to nearby highways facilitates for agricultural research, extension and information dissemination. So, it is also essential for the village economy to build a proper infrastructure. So, if you have a proper infrastructure development in the village economy, then it will help in the improvement of marketing, transport facility and also it will help in agricultural research and extension and also information dissemination. Now, special measures for elevation of poverty and bringing about significant improvement in the living conditions of the weaker sections of the population, emphasizing access to productive employment opportunities. So, the government also has to take special measures for elevation of poverty. So, we can see that poverty is rampant, especially in the village economy and bringing about significant improvement in the living conditions of the weaker sections of the population. So, try to see that you raise the standard of living of the weaker sections of the population. So, how do we just raise the standard of living? By providing them more and more employment opportunities. Now, in the rural development, the first thing we have to study is credit and marketing in rural areas. and credit. So what is the credit and marketing and credit in the rural area? The growth of the rural economy depends primarily on infusion of capital from time to time to realize higher productivity in agriculture and non-agricultural sectors. Now, we can find a growth in the rural economy only when you just inject capital into the rural economy. So, from time to time, we have to see that there is proper injection of capital into the economy in order to realize that there is higher productivity in the non-agricultural and the agricultural sectors. As the time of the gestation period between crop sowing and realization of income after production is quite long, farmers borrow from various sources to meet the initial investment on seeds, fertilizers, implements, and other family expenses of marriage, death, religious ceremonies, etc. So, most of the rural credit, it happens because of the gestation period. That is, when the farmer sows the seeds and the time taken to harvest the seed. So, it will be literally around 3 to 4 months when the crops come for harvesting. And in between, the farmer has to wait for the crop to just harvest, and then it is sold in the market, and then he gets back his money. So, in between, he has to borrow from various other sources for the initial investment. So, even for plowing the field, he has to just purchase the seeds, fertilizers, implements, and other family expenses like marriage, death, religious ceremonies. For all these things, he keeps on borrowing, and literally the Indian farmer is always on a debt. Then, at the time of independence, moneylenders and traders exploited small and marginal farmers and landless laborers by lending them on high interest rate and by manipulating the accounts and to keep them in the debt trap. So, we can see that on the eve of independence, moneylenders were rampant in the village economy, and they used to lend loans to the farmers at a very high rate of interest, and they used to always manipulate the accounts in order to see that the farmers were always in a debt trap. The institutional structure of rural banking today consists of a set of multi-agency institutions, namely commercial banks, regional rural banks, cooperatives, and land development banks. But after independence, we can see that there is a rise in the number of institutions which have come forward for lending to the farmers. So, we have seen a multi-agency institutions like the commercial banks are ready, the regional rural banks, cooperative banks, and the land development banks. All these are actively participating in rural credit. Now, they are expected to dispense adequate credit at cheaper rates. Recently, self-help groups have emerged to fill in the gap in the formal credit system because the formal credit delivery mechanism has not only proven inadequate but also has not been fully integrated into the overall rural social community development. So, we can see that these institutions, they are expected to disperse loans to the farmers in the village economy. Now, in addition to these institutions, we have the SHGs, that is the self-help groups, which have come in to fill the gap here. So, these self-help groups, they are actively participating in the microcredit system. So, they give loans on a wherein the poor farmer does not have to pay any collateral and he has to repay it on time. So, this kind of a self-help groups system have been very active in the village economy. Then, next one is the next concept we have to study is the rural banking, a critical appraisal. So, rapid expansion of the banking system had a positive effect on rural farm and non-farm output, income and employment, especially after the Green Revolution. It helped farmers to avail services and credit facilities and a variety of loans for meeting their production needs. The expansion and promotion of rural banking sector has taken a back seat after the reforms. Now we can see that the rural banking has been very active. So because of the rural banking which has been very active, we can see that there is a positive effect on the rural farm and non-farm output. So the output has increased, income and employment have increased, and it has helped the farmers to get the credit facilities for all their production needs. Now, to improve the situation, in recent years, all the adults are encouraged to open bank accounts as a part of the scheme known as the Jan Dhan Yojana. So, in order to see that all people are included into the banking sector, the government has come up with the Jan Dhan Yojana. Then, next, agricultural market system. Prior to independence, farmers, while selling their produce to traders, suffered from faulty weighing and manipulation of accounts. Now, if you can see the situation in the pre-independence period, we could see that the farmers were suffering because of the faulty weighing scales and manipulation of accounts by the traders. Farmers who did not have the required information on prices prevailing in markets were often forced to sell at the lower prices. So, the prices of the products were also not available. The farmers did not know the actual prices of the products when they went to sell the product. They also did not have proper storage facilities to keep back their produce for selling at a better price. So even if the farmer had to wait for the price to improve, he did not have proper storage facilities in order to just wait for the prices to improve. So do you know that even today, more than 10% of the goods produced in farms are wasted due to lack of storage? Therefore, government intervention became necessary to regulate the activities of the private traders. So we can see that even today, most of the agricultural produce are lost. Almost 10% of the agricultural produce are lost because of there is no storage facilities. Now, the government intervention has become necessary to regulate the activities of the private traders. Now, agricultural market system. So, what are the various emerging alternate marketing channels in agriculture? It has been realized that if farmers directly sell the produce to the consumers, it increases their income. So, the farmers have come to realize that the middlemen, they are eating up all the profits of the produce. So, if they are directly in contact with the consumers, they can always get the best prices for their products. Some examples of these channels are Apni Mandi. The government has come forward to just see that this gap between the farmer and the consumer has been fulfilled. How they have fulfilled it? By opening various channels like Apni Mandi. So this Apni Mandi is where the farmers can directly meet the consumers and sell their products. So it is more active in Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan. Hadaspar Mandi, it is there in Pune. Raitu Bazaars, that is vegetable and fruit markets in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and Uzavar Sandys farmers markets in Tamil Nadu. So these are the various channels of marketing which have been opened by the government to see that the farmer directly sells his produce to the ultimate consumers. Then, diversification into productive activities. So diversification includes two aspects. One relates to the change in the cropping pattern and the other relates to a shift of working force from agriculture to other allied activities like livestock, poultry, fisheries, etc. Now, in diversification, it refers to first one is the change in the cropping pattern and the other one is the shift of working force from agriculture to other allied activities like livestock, poultry, fisheries, etc. and the non-agricultural sector. The need for diversification arises from the fact that there is a greater risk in depending exclusively on farming for livelihood. So, why do they have this diversification into other sectors is, First thing is, if you are dependent on only one source of income, that is for your livelihood, if the farmer is dependent only on the farming, then that will not work out well for the farmer. Then diversification towards new areas is necessary, not only to reduce the risk from agricultural sector, but also to provide productive, sustainable livelihood options to the rural people. So the diversification has come in because it has to see that in the farmer to reduce the risk from agricultural sector. So he need not be dependent only on the agricultural sector, but also to provide sustainable livelihood options to the rural people. So the rural people who are there, so after the farming season is over, they will be free. So during that free time, if they can be offered something, some opportunities for livelihood, so it will help in giving them extra income, and also it will see that they just reduce their credit to a certain extent. Much of the agricultural employment activities are concentrated in the Kharif season, but during the Rabi season, in areas where there are inadequate irrigation, it becomes difficult to find gainful employment. So during the Kharif season, the agricultural employment will be very high, but during the Rabi season, it will be very hard for the farmers to get gainful employment during the Rabi season. Then the next topic we have to discuss is the animal husbandry. In India, the farming community uses the mixed crop livestock farming system. That is, the cattle, goats, fowl are the widely held species. So farming community in India, in addition to agriculture, they are interested in growing cattle breeding, goats, fowl, etc. Livestock production provides increased stability in income, food security, transport, fuel, and nutrition for the family without disrupting other food producing activities. So when they are engaged in rearing the livestock in their farm, then it will automatically help the stability in income. There will be food security, nutrition for the family, etc. Today, livestock sector alone provides alternate livelihood options to over 70 million small and marginal farmers, including the landless laborers. So you can see that this trend of rearing the livestock for a livelihood, it has been supporting almost 70 million farmers who are there, but they don't have any land of their own. A significant number of women also find employment in the livestock sector. Then next, coming to the fisheries, the fishing community regards the water body as the mother or the provider. The water bodies consisting of sea, oceans, rivers, lakes, natural aquatic ponds, streams are therefore an integral and life-giving source for the fishing community. So the water bodies consisting of the sea, ocean, rivers, etc. are a life-giving source for the fishing community. In India, after progressive increase in the budgetary allocations and introduction of new technologies in fisheries, aquaculture, the development of fisheries has come a long way. So this development of fisheries has been encouraged because of the government giving more importance for the fisheries sector in the budget allocation, and also it has introduced a new technology in fisheries and aquaculture. Then presently, fish production from inland sources contribute about 65% to the total value of fish production, and the balance 35% comes from the marine sector, that is the sea and the oceans. Today, fish production accounts for 0.9% of the total GDP. Next is the horticulture. So blessed with varying climate and soil conditions, India has adopted growing of diverse horticultural crops such as fruits, vegetables, tuber crops, flowers, medicinal and aromatic plants, spices, and plantation crops. So India has a tropical climate, and it is blessed with a variety of fruits, flowers, and tubers and medicinal plants, etc. So these crops play a vital role in providing food and nutrition besides addressing employment concerns. Horticulture sector contributes nearly 1/3 of the value of agricultural output and 6% of the gross GDP of India. Then again, India has emerged as a world leader in producing a variety of fruits like mangoes, bananas, coconuts, cashew nuts, and a number of spices, and it is the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables. Economic condition of many farmers engaged in horticulture has improved, and it has become a means of improving livelihood for many of the underprivileged classes. Now, horticulture has been supporting the Indian farmer, and it has helped him improve his income and also improving the livelihood of the people. Then, flower harvesting, nursery maintenance, hybrid seed production, tissue culture, propagation of fruits and flowers, food processing are highly remunerative employment options for women in the rural areas. Now, women who are engaged in floriculture, that is growing flowers. So, flower harvesting, nursery maintenance, hybrid seed production, tissue culture, propagation of fruits and flowers, they are providing a very lucrative employment opportunities for women in the rural areas. Then sustainable development and organic farming. So in recent years, awareness of the harmful effect of chemical-based fertilizers and pesticides on our health is on the rise. Conventional agriculture relies heavily on chemical fertilizers and toxic pesticides, etc., which enter the food supply, penetrate the water sources, harm the livestock, deplete the soil, and devastate the natural ecosystems. Now in the recent years, so we can see that the green revolution has become a failure. So why it is a failure? Because they encourage the use of chemical fertilizers for growing crops. Now this has resulted in greater use of fertilizers and pesticides have resulted in the entry of all these into the food supply, and it has penetrated the water bodies, harmed the livestock, depleted the soil, and it is also creating an imbalance in the ecosystem. Then efforts in evolving technologies which are eco-friendly are essential for sustainable development, and one such technology which is eco-friendly is organic farming for sustainable development, and which is an eco-friendly in organic farming. So we can see that in the recent years, sustainable development is here to stay. So there is a greater need to see that the chemical fertilizers are used to the minimum, and organic farming is given more and more importance in the agricultural sector. So coming to the conclusion, in recent years, awareness of the harmful effect of chemical-based fertilizers and pesticides on our health is on the rise. So we can see that these chemicals are creating havoc on our health. So conventional agriculture relies heavily on chemical fertilizers and toxic pesticides which enter the food supply, penetrate the water sources, harm the livestock, and deplete the soil and also the natural ecosystem. Efforts in evolving technologies which are eco-friendly are essential for sustainable development and organic farming. So with this, we come to the end of this session. Hope you have all followed it. Thank you.